I invite you to take a deep breath in through your nose. Big breath out. One more, this time feeling your awareness really arriving in your body. And I invite you, as you continue to deepen your breath in and out through your nose, to sense and see that golden ring of light that we started this space today with. Seeing and feeling this golden ring of light around all of us on the call and on the replay.
You're in tune to the sounds just on the scientist. Shouts to the Science, Spirit Symposium, all the medical student network, everyone getting busy and looking for the internal heights. Someone look it in your eyes, smile and say hi, but we sight that they really don't care. We're in our heights, yeah, we're in our heights. So basically that means we really don't care. You can't tell me peace and can't stop it. If you're lost, find yourself, hot step it. Tell the judge, put that on the record. Tell the DJ, let the stylist run the etchings in the groove. Elbows that move with edges. If the vibe's live, we stay sweating. We are biking the ride of a life, and we're not stepping off for a night or a second. We're united and independent. We act not to do Will Smith, but be legend. Plans been made, man, check the ledger. A light speed that we measure. Oh,
to be committed within ourselves as the center.
Self as the center. To be committed in ourselves as the center. And near death flickers your life in warp speed. There's many ways to be where you're there you want be. You can eat, you can breathe, you can sleep. When I first tried DMT, didn't have to buy it, didn't have to smoke it to try it. No special diet, no feeling sick, no shaman beside him. Ancestors guiding, just went inside without scraping frogs backs and trying it. Through corridors and corridors inside him. Found a sight more than silence. Colors in the scope were colliding. Is this death without the choirs in? There's much here, but don't rush the violins. Your body is a time machine, so plug in. Breathe, buckle up and ride too. In a height. Self as the center. That's where we begin. To be committed in. Ourselves as the center. Inside time, we see thoughts inform fam. In the night time, we see thoughts inform vanish in the right time. We see with no force it happens. Let doubt and shit collapses. Call that that's it, then we dash it. Island man, homegrown regular. Holler to another with no cellular. Earth man, but we are from the nebula. We heard slang, that's slop from another star. We talk spirit, not the whiskey that his lips have had. It's how we're living fam. We talk gifts and it's gifted as in given back. In our heights. Yeah.
On your inhale, I invite you to feel this energy welling up in your body. Say you feel peace. Inhale, feel the peace coming from the earth. On your exhale, spread that energy that you feel to every cell of your body. Inhale, bringing more of that energy in from the earth. On your exhale, send it to every corner and nook and cranny of your body. Blessed be the longing that brought you here and quickens your soul with wonder. May you have the courage to listen to the voice of desire that disturbs you when you have settled for something safe. May you have the wisdom to enter generously into your own unease, to discover the new direction your longing wants you to take. May the forms of your belonging in love, creativity, and friendship be equal to the grandeur and the call of your soul. May the one you long for you. May your dreams gradually reveal the destination of your desire. May a secret province guide your thought and nurture your feeling. May your mind inhabit life with the sureness with which your body inhabits the world. May your heart never be haunted by ghosts. structures of old damage. May you come to accept your longing as divine urgency. May you know the urgency with which God longs for you. May we each have the sense and sight to see and sense the true current that is carrying us to a new earth, a new consciousness already here and now embedded and living through each of us and through Mother Earth. May we each have the courage to accept and answer the call of our own unique mission of divine urgency. May each and every one here on the call and replay receive the medicine, inspiration, and information needed to further your healing, awakening, and divinely inspired surrender action.
Finding a community of academics with shared understandings about consciousness who have all experienced the feeling of swimming upstream is vital for a developing scholar interested in science and spirituality. A space to share ideas with like-minded people and to get experience presenting and publishing my research. As we all know, mainstream academia can be quite hostile to scholars who are interested in ideas that present any threat to the status quo. So I yearned for an incubator where I could share my work in a safe space. Woodstock was emblematic of a cultural revolution, and we here at the NPN were working on an ontological revolution. So Joan and Louise wanted to meet young people where they are and engage with the issues that we are passionate about. And amidst all our beautiful differences in locations, cultures, languages, passions, and concerns, we found a common ground. We agreed that we all longed for connection with like-minded people. We shared visions of change from destructive and exploitative patterns to new ways of being based on love, spirit, and cooperation. Led by a heart-centered approach to cooperative inquiry, we dreamt of creating a space for thinkers, dreamers, healers, and artists to come together and share our work with each other. And the idea for this symposium was born. This revolution in ontology is already happening, but this revolution also will not be televised.
I invite you to float your awareness down to your hips, your tailbone, your root, the base of your spine, and to send a cord down from the base of your spine through your seat, down through the floor, maybe down a couple floors, until your cord finds the dark, fertile earth beneath your building. Feeling this cord going into the earth, connecting with the mycelial network, the living pulse of Mother Earth and all of the residents, other fellow living beings, connecting with them through this cord, through your roots, sending this cord down, 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 miles and miles, anchoring you in the bedrock of Mother Earth. Anchoring you in safety, stability, support, structure. Magma that destroys so that paradise can be born. Anchoring you in an abundance of everything that you could ever need because it all comes from her. Freely given, received with great gratitude. And I invite you to begin to scan your body from the top of your head down to your toes and just notice what sensation is present. What does it feel like in your body to be anchored in Mother Earth?
Quantum codes, because reality is coded, says Professor James Gates, who used Adinkra codes and shown that they create anything in this natural world. Bits, zeros and ones, coding everything, much like your DNA codes your body. much like wave, particle, duality. Much like the yin yang that makes the Tao, that became Niels Bohr's family crest. He fell in love with the concept so deeply. He brought us wave particle duality. He named that reality. Much like the implicate and the explicate from David Bohm's implicate order, showing the intangibles have an influence on the external tangibles. Much like the delayed choice double slit quantum eraser experiment of Sir John Archibald Wheeler, who brought us not only the term black holes, but that genius thought experiment, which has been scientifically verified by the maths of Bell and the experimental brilliance of Alan Aspect and others. This duality that builds our world is kind of what this Science Spirit Symposium is about, because we've taken the science to be the external now, and spirit the internal. So what can a vision do for you? And could it be true? Well, there's actually spaces that Roger Penrose and Stuart Hamerhoff believe within us do quantum computation. So could a vision of a world of peace and unity and harmony, or of you being healthy, have an influence on the outcome? Dean Radin would agree and affirmatively say yes, with experimental verification.
As the curtains are drawn back from your consciousness and your perception. So now that everything is clear, it's as if there are these veils and these curtains that are sort of across our mind and across our eyes at all times. And really all of the liberation or the awakening is them being pulled back. So you can just be here and see what is that's already here in front of you, but you can just see it and experience it clearer. I think it's better to actually really look at something and really deeply take it in. And what is the emotion you feel from it? What is it, if you allow yourself to really go into an artwork and let it just start speaking to you? And a lot of this in part is because I believe that the subconscious is actually speaking through the artist. When the artist is truly in their flow state, that the subconscious is speaking forward. Or I guess, depending on your perspective, I'd say there's two ways you could go. It's either subconscious and maybe even the collective unconscious that Jung talks about, where there are these symbols and patterns within the human psyche that speak to us in a certain way. And when an artist is allowing themselves to go in there and to bring it forward, they don't know why they choose certain things, but they just do. And then they will still speak to others, to other people. So that's one way to look at it. And the other one way I think you can look at it is if you want to go to the deeper spiritual sense, that there is a creative essence. I'd probably describe it like a feminine essence that comes through the artist, and she speaks through the artist and creates that there's probably a greater intelligence or some other intelligence working to build an artwork. To me, art is not science. They are definitely different things. And a scientific discipline of science tends to be about trying to deeply analyze and then even compartmentalize and understand and see how the pieces fit together. Whereas art, for me, very much is about the opposite. It's about stepping back and taking in the whole and letting it speak to you, have a dialogue with it. And that's also what I tend to do when I'm actually painting. Speaking just briefly on the idea of liberated, of what for me that really means just this sense of ease and freedom. When the cares of the world have dropped off and you're no longer feeling constricted, and there's this openness and flow and really being present. And I do think there's probably, to me, that there's a difference between that and the idea of enlightenment, which to me feels like a step above. For me, I think liberation is something that any person could potentially, in any lifetime, really hope to attain, where it's just through inner work, through constant practice, and through deeper upward connection, to just release whatever it is that's really holding you down. The things that make you feel heavy, the things that make you feel like you're stuck deep in the earth or in the mud, figuring out what those are and then working with them enough to just be released and think, here I am, I'm free to be here.
I find that there is a desire in our soul to create, and I think that in one word is what we are doing, learning and practicing here, how to create something beautiful and something lasting. And in a world that's changing and evolving technologically so rapidly, I feel these to be the frontier, soul and creativity. And that concept, the inner empire, stems from one of my first visions almost a decade ago now, where I started hearing the earth's heartbeat. And suddenly I remembered that I've come here for a reason, and I haven't come alone, that I've come to make a home here, because there isn't one right now. A place where we, these souls, could feel at home, where things would make sense to us, where we would want to play, create.
Imagine we can create an AI perfection system that is enlightened. So anything we ask it, it immediately knows, infinite variations of it. Let's just do a thought experiment. 200 years from now, we've got an enlightenment robot who is totally enlightened, yet we humans are remaining dumb. Is it worth investing the $1 billion into building an enlightened AI machine? I also believe that as well as AI, we should be talking about HI, which is human intelligence. We have to work with humans on this planet, not construct the perfection, hyper genius robot that is totally enlightened. How can we bridge between that? I mean, it might be useful to construct a perfectly enlightened AI machine so that, as you say, we can reverse engineer it back to our condition. But so then finally, my last thing is, because I'm a peace studies expert, we have on this planet mutually coexisting self-destructive paradigms. We're talking about a paradigm shift. We're stuck in a logic system where Putin's reality is at war with Zelensky's, is at war with NATO, where Gaza is split between Palestinian paradigm versus Israeli. What we need is our enlightened robot to produce a formula whereby these mutually coexisting self-destructive paradigms can be synthesized into a meta-paradigm, which would be one of peace and mutual coexistence for enlightenment.
The relationship I have to mathematics is that it gives us this experience of certain knowledge that comes from within ourselves, that can sort of lead us to begin to trust our own thinking again when we try to make ethical decisions and start to explore spirituality. I'm really interested in the question of how far mathematics take us in these domains. It's similar faculties that we use, like in our conscience. That's a bodily experience, I think, and mathematical intuition when we assess a proof to be true or false. I think we of course use a rational intellect, but there's also something else there, intuition, that is interesting to explore.
If mathematics as I see it, mathematics is these wild intersections. Mathematics is tuning intuition like a beautiful instrument. I feel like we have this gift of imagination that perhaps if it's not cared for, it can lead into something like, maybe a neurological issue, right? It's like we have this gift of these lobes in this strange neocortex, but no one's really helped us keep going with that. You play and you do all these things when you're little, and then somehow that's supposed to be cut off. And you're supposed to believe in this 9 to 5 thing and parking tickets and things like that. And it's what happened to the Imaginarium? And so I think mathematics is an excellent world, an excellent place to sort of learn those skills to imagine, right? Because you can't rely on the things you see all of the time. And so that's why I think mathematics is an excellent place to build intuition, right? Mathematics doesn't have, data analysis is great. That's one form of mathematics, but the wizards that were working on category theory, they weren't worried about data analysis, right? They were worried about theory building and making new concepts. So I just sort of think we're here to create new concepts. The beautiful thing about mathematics is that it's thought itself. It doesn't need paint. The medium itself is thought itself. And I thought, if you're going to advance thought, you might as well, because it's not about the equations. Everybody knows that.
It's a concept.
It's a concept. Absolutely. There's the symbols of intuition.
I invite you to float your awareness down into your hips, your tailbone, your root. And I invite you to feel and imagine a cord from the base of your spine going down through your seat, If you're inside, see and feel it going down, down, down through the floor, through the foundation of your building. Feeling this cord now connecting to the earth beneath you, to the fertile soil, the mycelial network, as if you're sitting right on top of her. Feeling your root connecting with the roots of all living beings around you, these fellow residents, cohabitants of the land that you live on. And sending your cord down, 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 further through the fertile soil, the network, down, 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 deep into the bedrock of Mother Earth, anchoring you in stability, peace, pleasure, abundance.
So one such mystery that I encountered after this initiation experience was tarot. I was extremely skeptical of tarot initially. I thought it was a whole load of nonsense until I experienced it, and I was quite fascinated by it. So I had to learn it. And that's when I started channeling consciousness and I started accessing different streams, which I found was very interesting. There was this one experience where I was reading for someone and I was cognitively aware of what one of the cards was and what I was going to say. But when I actually came to reading that card, I said something completely different. And that led me to believe that maybe consciousness isn't necessarily produced by the brain, but it's accessed. So this is a quote by Rumi about consciousness that I love. He says, "Consciousness sleeps in minerals, dreams in plants, wakes up in animals, and becomes self-aware in humans." So coming to the science of consciousness, David Chalmers defined the easy and hard problems of consciousness research, where the easy problems refer to the functions, the behaviors, the objective, and the measurable, whereas the hard problems deal with the experiential, phenomenal, subjective, and intuitive aspects. So the hard problem really is related to the experience or the subjective awareness of different states of consciousness. So for instance, why does joy feel the way it does? Or why does fear feel another way? Whereas the easy problem really deals with the neural mechanisms that underlie conscious experience. And the explanatory gap is where these theories fall short, and both the easy and hard problems have this explanatory gap. But before we get into that, we need to understand what consciousness is. So these are some of the different dimensions of consciousness or the way consciousness is understood. So first is cognitive capacity, which is our ability to introspect or share our mental state. Then is awakeness. So when we see people in a coma or sleeping, we say that they're unconscious. So being awake is considered conscious. Then is our ability to focus our attention or control our behavior. Then is knowingness, which is basically to be conscious of something, to be aware of something. And then is qualia, which I find the most interesting of these. And basically what qualia is a mental state. It's a mental state and it's considered conscious if it has some sort of qualitative feel or experience. And a lot of people who deal with the hard problem of consciousness focus on qualia. So it really is the phenomenal subjective experience of consciousness. And there are many theories of consciousness that attempt to explain it from one or more of these dimensions. But I'm not going to get into the theories. Instead, I'm going to look at some of the models of consciousness. So the electrical signals in the heart are 60 times greater than that of the brain, and the heart's electromagnetic field is 5,000 times stronger and can be detected up to 6 feet away from the body. And the heart also detects stimulus before the brain, and it impacts brain and body activity. And the process of this is similar to the quantum nature of brain processing and consciousness as proposed by Carl Pribram and David Bohm. And then HRV and magnetic fields. So heart rate variability is basically the interval between each heartbeat. And there's a direct mathematical relationship between heart rate variability and information that is encoded in the magnetic field. And then this brings up ideas of coherence and quantum interaction. And this is further emphasized by findings that show that we synchronize with universal frequencies. So geomagnetic and solar influences impact heart rate variability patterns, and this in turn affect human behavior and consciousness. In a really interesting study done by McCready et al., they found that the heart is coupled to a field of energy of information that is beyond space-time. And in this experiment, they showed that the body and the brain process a future event before it happens, so kind of like a precognitive experience, and the heart receives this information before the brain does. So what do we do with this information, or what is the point of knowing all of this? I want to leave you with a few invitations to consider. You don't have to accept them. But first is that you are the explicate order and you are a part of the field, and the field is in you. You can access the field and it moves through you. Science helps provide a framework to know consciousness, but to truly understand it, we have to feel it. So play, dance, don't try to intellectualize it, and try living it. And then understanding consciousness can be seen as an archetypal journey from duality to trinity, where duality is really this foundation of our understanding and categorization of the universe. It helps us comprehend all these complex energies and how they interplay with one another. And once we move from seeing these tensions between opposites, East versus West, materialism versus post-materialism, science versus spirituality, and start seeing them as ends on a spectrum, then a third point can emerge of synthesis, which both transcend and include duality. And one of the mothers of the new paradigm navigators, Dr. Louise Livingstone, succinctly articulates the sentiment. She says, an integrated epistemology that embraces both the rational knowledge of scientific empiricism and inner knowledge may well provide a different way of approaching these global challenges, creating new episodes and new understanding. And this, I believe, is the leading edge of consciousness, an invitation to synthesize by giving up dogma and adopting the archetype of the divine child who embraces curiosity and play to explore the new.
And feeling this chord once more, I invite you to imagine and sense the earth respond to your introduction, to your offering of gratitude. Scanning your body from the top of your head down towards your toes, noticing what this response, what this connection, this establishment of a relationship feels like in your body. Maybe it feels centering in your tailbone, expansive in your heart, just noticing and naming the sensation and where you feel it for yourself. And when you have this sense of this quality of your sensational experience, we're going to take 3 breaths like we did if you were in our opening ceremony. On your inhale, you're going to feel this energy filling your body, and on your exhale, you're going to elevate and expand this sensation to every cell of your body. So if you feel gratitude, inhale, feeling gratitude welling up in your body, exhale, sending gratitude to every cell in your body. What does that feel like?
A lot of philosophers and spiritual researchers, you could say, in antiquity and throughout time have been mathematicians. So from Plato to Kepler, Copernicus, they were all very interested in alchemy and astrology, for example. So I would actually claim that mathematics is an accepted field of spiritual science, and we accept that because of its relationship to physics. So mathematics is something that is purely based on our own imagination, intuition, revelation, and so on, and we don't rely at all on external verification. And yet, I mean, every mathematician strongly feels that we can attain true knowledge in mathematics.
Just as neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine regulate our feelings of happiness, motivation, and well-being, could it be that the larger cosmic transits, such as the alignments and aspects of planets, also resonate with these chemical processes, thus synchronizing our inner emotional landscapes with the outer cosmos? For example, could a powerful alignment of Jupiter and Venus correlate with a boost in serotonin levels, fostering a sense of optimism and joy, while a challenging aspect between Saturn and Mars might correspond with fluctuations in cortisol, thus heightening stress and introspection? By exploring these connections, we open a dialogue between the ancient wisdom of astrology and modern neuroscience, suggesting that our personal experiences are not isolated, but intricately woven into the fabric of the universe. This holistic perspective not only deepens our understanding of human consciousness, but also aligns our mental health practices with the rhythms of the cosmos, offering new pathways for achieving emotional balance and harmony. This interconnectedness extends beyond neurotransmitters to the very molecules and chemicals that constitute our physical being, suggesting a deep resonance with our biological processes and the cosmic rhythms. Consciousness, as both a biological and metaphysical phenomenon, is influenced by the intricate dance of these molecules, which themselves are shaped by the archetypal patterns encoded in the planetary orbits. The sacred geometry, then, of these orbits, reflecting harmonious ratios and fractal structures, mirrors the coherence and symmetry found in molecular formations within our bodies. As planets trace their path through the heavens, they generate these archetypal patterns that influence the collective psyche, weaving a web of synchronicity that connects individual experience to universal cycles. These patterns, expressed through aspects such as conjunctions, oppositions, and trines, create a celestial symphony that modulates the frequencies of consciousness. When we perceive beauty and order in the movement of the stars, we are attuning to the same principles that govern the molecular dynamics within us. This resonance suggests that our thoughts, emotions, and states of consciousness are not isolated phenomena, but a part of a larger cosmic interplay. By recognizing the sacred geometry and planetary orbits and their archetypal influence, we can better understand the holistic nature of our existence. Finally, then, the geometric structure of the solar system's movements reflects an invisible geometry of human consciousness and is itself but a shadowy glimmer of a much more complex structure, a hyperdimensional aesthetic architecture of mind.
What is archetypal cosmology? Archetypal cosmology is a concept that has been developed by Legris quite recently, and its main focus is to combine methodology derived from astrology with the archetypal perspective that is emerging from modern depth psychology. So this is a method of study that allows us to analyze the shifting patterns and cycles in world history, culture, art, and also individual biography. The modern rejection of astrology is something that some of you might be aware of, especially students at the faculty. So for a very long time, for hundreds of years, actually astrology was not rejected at a scientific level, was part of normal academia, was a discipline that was considered to be part and parcel of studies in astronomy. Seems like that integrating ancient astrological wisdom with modern transpersonal and depth psychology frameworks, this work offers a new, innovative insights into human experience and also fosters a more holistic worldview. So again, the whole ethos behind the SMN and the Students of Spiritual Science is to create this marriage between these two worlds, and I'm trying to go in that direction as well with my work. One of the main findings, as I mentioned before, is astrology's role as a catalyst for psychological insight and for personal growth within the context of archetypal cosmology. And this is paving the way for transformative developments. And hopefully there will be more people inspired by this type of research that can, again, bridge the gap.
What I suggest is that everything is fundamentally light rather than energy. So indeed, the ontology of light is integral to this new unified theory. It would elegantly deal with outdated and frankly nonsensical notions of dark energy and dark matter, which I argue is actually hyperdimensional light beyond the bandwidth of our current perception. The cosmic mind, then, is the mind of light. This evokes physicist John Wheeler's notion that everything is actually just one single electron. It is thus that a cosmo-aesthetic theory of everything would unify these insights and proposes the universe as a symphony of light and consciousness. In this framework, light is the foundational element, embodying the essence of both the physical and conscious realms. By integrating mathematical beauty with cosmic mind, we reveal a universe that is both scientifically coherent and profoundly meaningful, honoring the empirical and the transcendental, the seen and the unseen. I think through establishing a new paradigm of time, we're going to really unravel this beautiful interconnectedness between beauty, consciousness, and time, and then potentially the other forces as well, like gravity and so on. So essentially what I'm proposing is two axes of time, one being entropic and horizontal, i.e. the origin of perceived linear time, the other being a unifying axis of simultaneous vertical time and which transcends physical laws. So the apex point would be the sort of convergence point where all time is simultaneous. Yeah, that's the alpha and omega. What I suggest is within this hyperdimensional cosmic mathematical geometry, the lower the dimension, so the denser and more physical the dimension, the further away it is from the Godhead, then the less synchronistic it appears.
So we're going to drop back in. I invite you to close your eyes or take that soft, gentle gaze wherever you are. Taking a deep breath in and a big breath out. Connecting to that cord, connecting you to the earth, whether through your building or right there through your body. If you're outside, tuning in with your environment. And if you're inside, invite you to imagine feeling and seeing yourself in a beautiful sanctuary and expression of nature. Taking a moment to notice where you arrive, to notice where you're called. Maybe your mind doesn't even place you there. Maybe you're placed there by another force, by the earth herself. And feeling that cord from our first practice still anchoring you directly and deeply within the earth. Whether in your mind's eye, an energetic experience, or physically, begin to feel your body on the earth. Whether they're lying or as if you're laying on the earth. And I invite you, as you lay here on the earth, to notice your breath. And with every breath, feel in your body the earth holding you. Breathing in. Exhale, relaxing into the sensation of the earth holding you. 2 more breaths like this, breathing in. Exhale, relaxing more into the earth holding you. 1 more like this. Now breathing in, noticing your energy, your body, what sensations are present. And exhale, relaxing into the energy that is present with you. Inhale, breathing in, noticing the energies present. Exhale, relaxing deeper into those energies. 1 more like this. And through this cord from the base of your spine down into the earth, bringing your awareness to and imagining the mycelial network, this living pulse of the earth. Connecting your energy through this cord to the energy of the mycelial network and the other residents, this land that you're on. With every breath, letting your body connect and sync up to this vital pulse of energy. With every exhale, relaxing in to the aliveness that you are now and always connected to. Breathing in, feeling that connection, that syncing. Breathing out, allowing more aliveness to energize every cell in your body, your birthright to this energy.
Here are some things that I have found of substance and service in my life. A faith, and importantly, not a religion, trust, set of core values and principles, a personal philosophy. And this is what I want to offer to the world. I believe that all of these can be built true experience, a state of being which can be cultivated, way or ways of relating. You can look into game theory for that if you're into science. Win-win-win attitude, integrity and authenticity, or more importantly, relationships and practices that promote and drive those. And of course, which I will be talking about in the second part of this presentation, entrepreneurial principles, how to serve, how to create and share value. So in a phrase, mindset, heart set, and character, and ways of relating. Having been on this course, having done this for over 10 years, I think this is as simple as it gets. I think spirituality equals or means or gets you to more connection, better integration, and more meaning, a more meaningful life. And I think the metric of our spiritual development is first discernment, and how we live. It is reflected in how we live and how we relate. So this is one of the more useful models I found in my MSc program from Michael Daniels. I think this also depicts pretty well what is spiritual development in a rational sense. This is a three-dimensional depiction. We can work on all of these vectors. It's really simple. Find people who share the same goals as you, the same interests. You make your community, you provide value to that community, whether it's a service or a thing or some course, and you get paid for that. The equation is really simple. Impact is leverage times projects. Leverage is reach times expertise. Expertise is your interest times application. Reach is the quality of your offer times marketing, and marketing is brand compounded with content and ads. And impact is meaning and opportunity. You could ask, what is the purpose of it all? Which I've been doing for a while. And my favorite one is, we're all baby gods, and I'm starting to perceive people and souls more and more this way. We are learning to create here in a very responsible manner, in the sense that both individually and collectively, we have to eat the soup that we make. That is the spiritual evolution. We can fail this project. We can blow the planet up. It's a big pity. I wouldn't want to have that, otherwise I wouldn't be doing this work. But what I mean by that is, if we mess it up, it's just going to take another few billion years to get back to this point, and perhaps develop further the next time.
My people, hold your vision and lock it tight, yeah? We're on the trot. Move forward. Not for perfection, for progression. Are you me? Grand rising. Peace.